Hi everyone, it's Mari for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating this card for you today using the beautiful Lovely Layers poinsettia. This was a die set that was released, I believe, last year at Christmas time. It is so stunning. I love it. It's still one of my all-time favorite Honeybee Stamps Lovely Layers. I've die cut it out of white cardstock and I'm going to do some ink blending on the white cardstock here. I am using Pink Fresh inks for this, and I will list in the description box below all of the different inks that I am using. I wanted to start the base for each one of the different layers with this really kind of light pink. I think this is called Cherry Blossom, but like I said, I will list all of these different colors in the description box below, but really any kind of light tone of kind of a corally pink would do the trick if you wanted to create a color very similar to this if you don't have the specific color. And so I'm just going in with my blending brush and just using that clockwise and counterclockwise motion to go ahead and add the ink on. And I am going to layer another color on top of this, so I'm not worried about this being solid at all. I just want there to be just this really nice light layer of pink. Now this next color that I'm going to be using is kind of almost like a little bit of a deep pinky red. It's really, really pretty. It's called Mulberry Bush and it's really, really gorgeous. I think it's one of the newer Pink Fresh colors. And so I'm just going to go in with my Altenew blending brush here and go ahead and add some ink on. And you can just see how that's just going to add that really dramatic edge to these different petals of the poinsettia plant. So it's really gorgeous. And I wanted to retain some of that light base. I am going to eventually go over this with an even darker color, but for now I was thinking it was just going to be this. And so I just wanted to make sure that I left that lighter area in the center. And then for this little centerpiece here, just leaving some of the tips that really that lighter pinky corally blush color. So adding that to all of the edges and just retaining that nice lighter portion in the center. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing here with this last piece, the largest layer, and this will be the base layer. Now you will notice if you're die cutting these or as you're watching, you can see some of the areas have the embossed lines on them. Those are going to be the petals that show, and then the ones that are just flat will have a layer on top of them, so you won't really see the most part of that. Now I am going to go in with, I believe this is called Eucalyptus for the leaves. I did die cut 2 leaves to start off with, but I think I end up die cutting another leaf to add into my poinsettia. When I go to assemble it, I realize, I think I want another one of these. So I did die cut out a 3rd one and do the ink blending on it as well. This is Lush Forest. This, I think, is my new favorite green ink. It is gorgeous. It is so deep. It's almost like it has a blue base to it, I would say. It is really, really pretty. It's just a most stunning, deep, almost like a jewel tone green. It's gorgeous, and you can just see how nice and dramatic that makes those leaves look. I'm going to take some winter greenery dyes from the Lovely Layers Winter Greenery. So I'm going to use some of the pine boughs and some of the holly leaves, and I'm going to use these for greenery around my poinsettia as well. So I'm using that color there that you saw. I think it was maybe the spruce tree. And now I'm going in with Spanish moss for the holly leaves, which is just a really change in color. I'm actually going to go over those a little bit later too with a darker green. Now I'm going to go in with some distress inks, and this is the pine cone that's part of the Winter Greenery die set. That Winter Greenery die set is amazing. It is so fantastic for creating some really, really pretty wintry bouquets. And this one, of course, this pine cone is gorgeous. I'm just going in there with some gathered twigs. And then I'm going to add a little bit of ground espresso, I believe. I'm just looking to see what's on my desk here. Yes, ground espresso. And that's just going to be for that overlay part that layers over top. And that'll just really stand out nicely there. Now I'm going in with some candy apple, and this is a much deeper red, and I'm just going to darken up the red on the poinsettias. I just felt like I wanted something that was going to match the patterned paper that I'm going to be using for my card that's in the Holiday Wishes paper pad, and I'll show you that when we get to that step. But That's why I went back and added some more of this dark ink. I'm still retaining some lighter areas here on these different petals, but here you can just see that paper that I'm matching it to. I really wanted this a little bit of a darker red on this as well. So now you can see how pretty that is when that's all finished. I'm just going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to use that just to round the leaves a little bit to give them a little bit of dimension. And you can see that I'm just kind of like bending the leaf at the base of the leaf in the center and then rounding or curving up the tips of the petals, as you can see there. So just trying to kind of create that little bit of dimension with my poinsettia in that way. And I'll do that with all of the different layers of the poinsettia to just create this really nice dimensional bloom for the front of my card. And I love how this die set layers together. Super, super easy to put together and assemble. And I am going to assemble this with some foam adhesive. So this would not be the best card for just mailing in a flat envelope. If you were putting this inside of a box, a gift, it definitely would be fine, but it would cost you a little bit more to mail this one with the dimension that I'm adding. So that's something to think about when you're creating a card like this. If you don't want that dimension, obviously I wouldn't use the foam adhesive, but for mine, I wasn't worried about that, and I am definitely going to be hand delivering this card. So you can see here, I'm just looking for the pieces that have the lines on them, the embossing. I want those to show, and then I'll cover up the petals that just are flat with no embossing lines. That's an easy way to help you line up the poinsettia, but honestly, it's super, super easy to assemble. And then this sweet little piece is just going to be the layer in the center, and then I die cut that very, very center piece, the center of the flower, from some gold mirror cardstock, and I'm going to just add a little bit of liquid adhesive on that and add that to the center, and that's just going to finish off that beautiful poinsettia. I think it's really, really lovely. Now I'm going to add the overlayer, the top layer, to the pine cone just with a little bit of liquid adhesive, so this is not going to be dimensional in any way at all, which is fine. And so I'll just go ahead and add that on, and that'll be ready to add as an element onto my card front. I am going to be using the Rainbow A2 pierced cover plate, and I've also used the Scallop A2 frames dies to create two other layering pieces for my card front. Now I did size down that rainbow cover plate piece just so that it nestles really perfectly inside the stitched line on that scallop die cut piece. And I've sized down this pattern paper 1/4 of an inch so that there's still a little bit of a white margin when I put this onto my A2 size card base. So this pattern paper is from the Holiday Wishes paper pad. It is my absolute favorite. I love it. I love that it has a white background. I love those stunning green leaves. It's sad to cover it up, but you can still see just that little bit of it around the border to add that little bit of detail to the card and the color inspiration for sure. Now I've added some foam adhesive and a little bit of liquid adhesive onto the back of that rainbow cover plate piece, and I'm just going to add that into that center area and give that a good press. And now I'm ready to assemble my card. Now I will say that when I assembled this, I ended up deciding that it was too low on the card front, and so I do end up moving everything up off camera. It was actually really easy to move. I don't think the glue had quite grabbed yet, but you'll see that when the video here progresses, you'll notice that I have moved the poinsettia up. And I wanted to do that just to leave a little bit more room for the placement of the sentiment. Now I am going to curl the leaves just as I did for the poinsettia. So I'm just going to finish curving that leaf and get that trimmed off just a little bit so that I have more room to be able to fit that in behind the poinsettia. And I'll do that with each of the leaves that I'm going to add. And I'm just using my liquid adhesive just to stick these in under and get them placed. You can just see how nice the variation of that ink blending looks on the leaves and the other elements as well. So I'll just finish those up. I wanted to make sure that I spread the leaves out a little bit. And now I'll just trim off these little spruce boughs and get them to be the right length so that I can just stuff them in around the poinsettia. So I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive just to the very end of that and then just scooch that in there and give it a little press. And I'll do that with the other spruce boughs here that I'm going to be using as well. Just kind of trying to spread things out, like I said, so that there's sort of like an even amount of foliage around the poinsettia bloom, with that pine cone just sticking up at the top there. And then I'll just fit these little holly leaves in as well. And then once I'm finished, I look at it and I decide that everything has to be moved up. So like I said, I do that off camera, but you'll see that once I move it up, it does look quite a bit better. And I do feel like it was just necessary for where I wanted to put the sentiment on the project. Now, I did use a sentiment from the Pine and Berry centerpiece set. That is just a gorgeous set designed by Kelly Taylor. I really love it. And I did just use the sentiment. I actually heat embossed it in gold and added that in that bottom area. And now I'm just doing a few little gold splatters to finish off my card. I just really like that little bit of sparkle that this adds to the project, and it looks really nice against the red and the green tones. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I hope you were inspired by my project today. Make sure you check out the description box below where I have all of the different products that I have used linked up. Make sure that you like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Have an amazing day, friends, and happy holidays. Bye-bye.